Arizona, homeowner's best friend.
So if you're ever curious about why Phoenix is where it is on the Salt River, why isn't it at the junction of the Verde and the Salt, or down at Tres Rios, where there was even more water? Well, we answered all those questions and a lot more last week. Had a blast with two very special guests. We're here with Steve Schumacher, the official Phoenix historian, as appointed by the mayor. Welcome, Mr. Steve, again. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Rosie. My pleasure.
And historical architect and preservation planner, Mr. Don Ryden. Don, welcome again, my friend.
Thank you very much. 'Tis a pleasure.
All right, so we've taken Phoenix from its original founding of mud huts, right? Dug into the ground, covered with branches, and roofed with mud, to jack swilling. And now he has rediscovered the irrigation systems that were dug by the Hohokam and hundreds of years before. They're still usable. They were ingenious. They actually figured out how to move water uphill with those canals, which is really pretty bright, without a pump. So now we've got jack swilling. Steve, let's take it from there. The quote,
Sure.
All hell needs is water.
Yeah. Well, water is always, it's always been an issue for us. It will probably always be an issue. And Jack Swilling, again, a capitalist, an entrepreneur, a visionary. He saw the need for water to grow crops, sell it, and make money. So that was his vision of water. It wasn't so much as we see it today. We don't necessarily relate water in the canals with growing crops and selling them. But in those days, that was it. That was it. Being an entrepreneur, make some money, build bigger houses, government, etc.
Came to Arizona as a prospector, is that right?
Yeah, he was a miner. When he really recognized the potential of the valley, he was like an express mail rider between Prescott and Tucson. And he would go through the valley fairly regularly, making those trips. And that was when he recognized the potential of the valley.
And we're talking late 1800s, early 1900s. Phoenix has a booming population of about 5,400 people. And someone gets the idea, with a little more water, we could have a little bit bigger city. Talk about the Salt River Project. I mean, this is incredible what these local settlers did pre-statehood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they were experiencing a combination of drought, flood. And when you're a bunch of farmers who are trying to subsist because of crops growing and water and so forth, that lack of predictability and control over that was causing a lot of problems. So they started petitioning the government to build this dam as early as, around 1900, and finally got the approval to do that. And in my estimation, probably building that Roosevelt Dam and controlling the water coming out of the mountains was one of the signature events in the history of our city.
Oh, absolutely. And that's at the juncture of the Tonto Creek and the Salt River. And these settlers actually put their personal property up as collateral against the cost of building the Roosevelt Dam.
Oh, they absolutely did. They were that confident that it would work, and luckily they planned it. They devised a way to get hydroelectric power out of there as well. And, it's just been a huge success. It was originally called, you mentioned the Tonto Basin, it was actually called the Tonto Dam to begin with.
Oh, was it?
Because that's where it was, yeah. Yeah, it didn't last very long. Teddy Roosevelt wanted to.
And he made it here, went up Fish Creek.
Right.
And I understand Fish Creek is open again. High clearance 4-wheel drive. I think they have. It closed in 1919 to a flood at Fish Creek, but I think that's open again.
What's it called?
High clearance Apache Trail, past Tortilla Flats.
Oh, to get all the way through to Roosevelt?
Yeah.
I didn't know that road ever closed.
Yeah, it was closed for 5 or 6 years, but I think it's open. It's quite the ride.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, my parents would drive through there. My stepdad was working around the state, and I had to lay down on the back seat. I couldn't watch that out the window as a kid.
And it only takes once to learn that you never drive on it going west in the morning or east at night. Because, man, that sun on the windshield, and you come around a blind bend, and you have no idea what's in front of you.
I did not realize the Arizona Heritage Center in Tempe actually had some of the original parts of the dam as built in 1903, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. Yeah, when you walk in, and the museum itself, when you walk in, you'll go to the right, but if you just walk straight ahead, there's a big wall, part of the original Roosevelt Dam, right there.
All right, so Phoenix is slowly growing, Don, and then we have citrus, we have cotton, and then we have a World War. And Goodyear Tire Company.
Goodyear, yes, they had been farming cotton out west of Phoenix, way out west of Phoenix, 100th Avenue and
That's
such.
right.
And they got commissioned to supply cotton to the U.S. Army so that they could build tires for airplanes and for vehicles because there was an embargo on cotton from Egypt.
Anywhere else, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how Goodyear got started. We have a town named after the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.
And it kind of establishes the area in the valley as kind of a great place for aviation because you have so much clear weather so much of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is true. The aviation was really important. They had training bases for the Army Air Corps in World War II over on the coast, but they realized that those could be threatened by attack, and so the Army Air Corps looked for a new place inland to be more safe from attack, and they chose Phoenix and the whole valley, and there was a system of Air Force bases, Luke Field, Williams, and then all the other little training bases, and one still exists today in the form of Scottsdale Municipal Airport.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, and they fly right over your house,
Yes,
don't
they? They do. Yeah, I lived in that neighborhood for almost 50 years now. So it's been interesting to see it grow. But World War I comes, and we're manufacturing tires and wheels for the vehicles and the planes, and Goodyear's doing a big part of that. And that takes us into the 20s and the 30s. We have a little bit of an agricultural downturn. Everything kind of falls flat, and we really have to wait until the late 30s and 40s again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little note on that cotton, which one of the little stories that I really like is most people who if you pay any attention, we've all heard of Pima cotton.
Yeah.
Well, that was named to honor the Pima Indian tribe here in Arizona. That cotton was originally called Egyptian cotton, but this embargo and all that and so they named it Pima cotton to honor the Indian tribe.
Well, we're talking now from Jack Swilling, population of about 5,000. Now we're approaching World War II. We're talking the late 30s and 40s. Now we're talking a population of about 50,000. City of Phoenix, 50,000 people. Must have been a nice little town back then.
Well, it was much smaller. Like my mom and dad got here in 1930, and it was 50,000. When I was born, it was only 100,000, and that was about 200 years ago.
Yeah, almost. Well, let's pick it up. Let's pick it up from there right after this short break. We're going to talk about the population explosion of 50,000 in the 40s to its present day multi-million. When we get back with Steve Schumacher and Mr. Don Ryden.
Rosie on the house. Every Arizona homeowner's best